There's new development on the horizon on the Space Coast, and some of it is controversial. A new apartment building in downtown Melbourne promises to spur more growth in the area. Meanwhile, some residents are upset about a proposed hotel condo project in Satellite Beach. Florida Today reporter Rick Neale will bring the latest updates on these projects and what they mean for Brevard County. You will notice a lot of the developments we talk about are hotels. The industry has recognized there's a shortage of hotels in our county, especially luxury ones. Rick Neale, welcome back on the show.
Why, thank you for having me.
So you are you're our guy at Florida Today who is sort of covering everything in the county. You find all these great stories that no one has ever heard about. But I think your biggest focus has been on new development here in Brevard County. And there's a lot going on.
That's always big news.
It is, and we know people want to know what's being built, and a lot of these projects sometimes come attached with some controversy. So we'll start with Satellite Beach and the hotel condo project that's being proposed there.
Right.
Explain what it is, and then why are some people really upset about it?
Right. It is called The View. It is going at the 27-acre former site of the Satellite Shores subdivision. Those are the last remaining older base houses. Across State Road A1A from Hightower Park.
Okay.
And the 18-acre oceanfront preserve there. So it's just north of Shearwater Parkway.
Okay.
In other words, the 100 acres, as they call it, the large area to the south that remains vacant, and that's still under contract for 30 years for potential Patrick Air Force Base military housing. So this development is going potentially in the 27 acres
that are remaining outside from that.
Yes, just to the north, because they knocked down the homes just like last year or so. A Tennessee developer bought the property for $13.5 million in 2017. Now the plan is that the developer has submitted. It's called The View at Satellite Beach. That would be a 4-star hotel, 222 rooms, I believe, and it would be. Preferred is the brand. So they kind of make unique boutique type hotels and resorts across the country. And also 3 condominium tower buildings along A1A. So those would be up to 85 feet. And there would also be, on the west side of the property, there would be additional single family homes. Mm-hmm. That would be similar to neighboring Montecito subdivision in a lot of ways. So. The Satellite Beach City Council on November 6th, I believe, they voted 4-1 to pass a conceptual plan development for it. So on Wednesday, they'll have the first reading of actual ordinance changes to the existing Pelican Coast planned unit development.
Okay.
That kind of dates back to the early 2000s, but what that does, they would be modifying it to allow for a hotel and to allow for single-family homes.
Yeah.
Now, and this is controversial, however. There are some activists, and you get a lot of the concerns that were voiced have to do with traffic, like on Shearwater and A1A. Also, just the general fit of having high rises, coming into Satellite. I know the Oceana condominiums across the street from the Publix Plaza. A lot of residents find that very unpopular. And also, there's the turtle nesting. The oceanfront preserve there that extends to the north and the south of Hightower on the beach side of A1A. That is the largest undisturbed portion, or the longest undisturbed portion at about 18 acres of shorefront from Cape Canaveral down to Sebastian Inlet. And some people are up in arms, on impact on nesting sea turtles. The plan also calls for an elevated walkway going across A1A from the hotel to Hightower Beach Park. So there have been, also concerns raised, hey, what about beach rentals? Are people going to have jet skis zooming around here, or like beach chairs, from the hotel, like you'd see at other properties around Brevard? So that the first 2 readings, or the first and second readings of the ordinance changes, those are coming before the Satellite Beach City Council, and the developer wants to at least their preliminary timeline, they'd like to start construction in January 2021.
And so you mentioned 85 feet. People are upset about that. And would that be the highest in Satellite Beach, or what is the highest elevation that we see today?
I believe Oceana is 100 feet
Okay.
or so. And that's one key thing they, at least from the city officials, they've said that that the Ramada Inn used to be there, that the 2004 hurricanes, Francis and Jean,
And that's
really
been torn down since.
wrecked the structure, and they put Oceana is now in its place. You know, the officials say, hey, having a 4-star hotel, this would serve Patrick Air Force Base and surrounding community, a lot of the defense contractors and aerospace companies as well.
And there's some allegations from the protesters, from the opponents, that this violates city charter. Having looked at it, is that true? I mean, because the city's saying that we have to approve this development because it fits into our comprehensive plan or whatever it's called. I mean, can the city council do something? Because I think a lot of people have this understanding that the city council can just decide what development goes in, but they actually have to follow the rules. They can't just pick and choose which development goes in there.
Yes.
So what is the real thing happening?
The Pelican Coast PUD, that calls for or allows a developer to put in up to 398 condominiums on the property.
Okay.
So this, I remember the mayor and other council members, they said they're not overly thrilled with this project, but from their perspective, it's the development and the number of units is dialed back.
Okay.
Because they'd have to change the PUD to add the
The
hotel.
hotel.
Now, from the opponent's point of view, they're like, wait a minute, the hotel has 222 units in addition to all the housing
Okay.
here and so forth. Plus, 2006, there was a charter change in Satellite Beach in which if you try to go build above 35 feet in certain areas, then it has to go to a referendum. So, you know, some of the activists, especially on social media, have been saying, hey, you know, this deal is illegal, it's violating the charter.
So
and so
will
forth.
there
And
need?
city-
Is there a need for a referendum for this project to go through?
No, the city officials
is it?
say no.
Okay. So let's move on to other more or less controversial development here that's being planned in Brevard. And I want to talk about downtown Melbourne because you live in downtown Melbourne and
Yes.
you've become sort of a fixture there. Every time I go there, I see you at a bar or at a coffee shop.
Yes.
So tell us the exciting things that are going on there. I mean, downtown Melbourne, I have only been here for 2 years, but my understanding is just hearing from residents is that really it's come a long way in the last decade or so. So let's talk about what is being planned, and let's begin with the new apartment building that's being built there.
Yes, the Highline Apartments. That is at the site of the old Mel High on New Haven Avenue. It's basically, I mean, as you're coming from the beach now, you see, you know, the side of the building. You know, it's you know, already on the skyline. It's they're still adding windows and so forth
Yeah.
around the structure, doing all sorts of work. But there's going to be 171 apartments, ranging from studios, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom. I took a tour there maybe 2 months ago or so, and the plan was to start the rents for the studios at $1,500.
For a
And go
one-bedroom
upwards.
studio.
This is a studio, not a 1-bedroom. So I think it'd be a situation where you put the bed in the
And
studio.
then my next question is, who are the people who can afford? I mean, $1,500 for a studio. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not everybody can afford that. I think let's be realistic.
Right.
They're targeting a very specific demographic here, which is people moving here to work at Harris, Northrop
Yes.
Grumman. And talk about that. Is that really what in their business plan?
Yes, that's one of the. I spoke with a real estate agent who basically said right along those lines, and this is not priced for Brevard County, like
Okay.
the residents who are here, you know, with $40,000-$50,000 range. This is priced for
100.
new transplants,
1,000
new
plus.
engineers who are coming here for Northrop Grumman, Harris Corp, and so forth, who are looking for California. And
So
they're trying to find.
$1,500 is a
Yes.
bargain for them.
Yeah, for them, it's, you know, really, I mean, no big deal, relatively speaking, but they're also looking for more of an urban style housing
Yeah.
experience rather than, you know, living in Vieira or Suntree.
And then driving to go to see, for an entertainment and all of that. So it starts at 1,500. What is the highest and what's the largest apartment size?
They have not, the studios are, this is off the top of my head, about 740 square feet.
Okay.
So that's, the two-bedroom is the larger of the models. But of course, this will be depending on the economy also. If all goes well, I believe the target move-in date is in May of next year.
Wow, it's coming
So
up
it's still
fast.
got a ways. It's got a ways to go
Yeah.
still, but
Yeah, and a lot of things can change, especially
Right.
with the housing market. We never know. But how is the expected impact that this is going to have in downtown? Because one of the things I hear is a lot of, and the same issue with a lot of downtowns, they have a lot of businesses, but not enough people living there because you need people there for the foot traffic. I mean, I assume this is going to be a great thing for all the other businesses on New Haven, right?
well, I know at least there's a lot of skepticism prior that I heard, a couple of years ago. Same thing with the hotel that's being built at Strawbridge and Waverly Place behind Mega Mally's. That's so up. I mean, it's looking like it's about starting to work on the third story or so by
Okay.
now. But I think that now that the projects are becoming reality, at least a lot of the feedback is, hey, let's, at least from business owners, look forward to the additional foot traffic. Now, of course, from a shopper's point of view or so forth, one of the main concerns is going to be parking,
Yes,
which is already
in this apartment building.
the parking at the apartment, for the apartment building itself, the High Line, there's like 2 layers of parking within the structure. And then I believe what the developer is doing in conjunction with the city is redeveloping the existing surface lot that extends over to Mel Ave.
Okay.
And that is, you can drive it by landscaping, actual lighting, because it was pitch black before.
Yeah.
And there's now a corridor that will be open to the public between the building and the Henniger Center.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to access it walking
And
back
this will be
forth.
I think this will be, besides Trinity Towers, it'll be the only housing development on New Haven, right? I cannot think of anything else. I mean, there might be a few places here and there, but this is going to be a lot of people.
There's some smaller apartment buildings, and one of the things that I've heard though is that this will serve, at least some officials believe this will serve as a catalyst for more,
Yes.
as in more modern, newer housing and larger scale complexes like this.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Downtown Melbourne, as far as a census tract, it's considered a low to moderate income housing area.
Because
basically
is it
just-
because of Trinity Towers, which is for low-income seniors? Right
Those
there,
are
yeah.
retirees, yes. So, and it's the neighborhoods themselves is largely older housing stock. So putting in something like Highline, obviously, that
Yeah.
will,
Yeah, it's because I mean I think there's a charm to that area because it is older. Just hope that it doesn't become all high rises and modern because I think we need to preserve as well that character. But one side note is about parking that a lot of people don't realize that there is plenty of parking in the garage right next to City Hall.
Yes,
So
yes.
instead of driving around and finding street parking, just maybe walk a block over to the garage. I mean that's a good tip if you're one of those people complaining about there's no parking in downtown Melbourne, right?
Well, yeah, I wrote a story. This is one of the merchants who works right on Strawbridge across the street. And she said, I mean, she went to the Melbourne City Council and said, hey, I'm having customers coming in saying I can't find a parking space. And she's like, well, what about the garage right here? So, and that's one thing, the general public really doesn't know that it's free except for special events such
Yeah.
as the Downtown Melbourne Food and Wine Festival and so forth. And I've heard people saying, I thought it was only for City Hall people.
Yeah.
Or,
So maybe
they believe you have to
there needs to be
charge
more
money.
of a campaign like to tell people. I've never heard. Sometimes it takes me a few minutes to find parking, but I think we're a little spoiled here in Brevard. Like, go to Miami and those places where really,
Yeah.
and it's expensive also to park.
Well, that's also, to jump in, one of the largest areas used for parking. It's leased by the city. That's the old SunTrust Bank site, right across the street from Helen Blazes, leading down. It's all grass and it goes down
Yes,
to
and
Melbourne
that's
Avenue.
also
A loft hotel chain, or a developer would like to build a 6-story hotel there. At least that's the last word.
so
I
that
don't know
free
what the
parking
status
is going to be gone because I use that a lot when I go there.
Yeah, that would be, it'd be probably a gated hotel situation.
So we have the Loft Hotel. We have the hotel behind Meg O'Malley's. I mean, people see potential in downtown Melbourne. I mean, I don't know how many rooms that's going to be, but What is going on? What is attracting all these hotel chains to Melbourne?
We've written, I know Dave Berman wrote a couple of months ago, there's a hotel building boom all across Brevard. Particularly, you go up and down the I-95 corridor, whether it's, West Melbourne, Cocoa, up in Titusville, there are new hotels coming in because this is a couple of years ago. I heard a developer mention that according to a market study, I believe the average age of a hotel room on the Space Coast dated to like 1992
Oh
or
my
so.
gosh.
So these are it's older stock. There's a number of chains coming in, especially, I should mention Vieira, with the USSSA taking over the Space Coast Stadium complex,
Yeah.
with all these traveling softball and baseball teams playing there all the time. The Vieira company's expressed interest in adding maybe 3 more hotels or so near the new Diverging Diamond interchange.
Yeah. And the one thing we don't have yet is a 5-star hotel. And seems like we might get one in Cocoa Beach. But I mean, that's to me very striking that we don't have a 5-star hotel. I mean, what are the reasons why we don't have it? And do we need to diversify our tourist base to bring more higher income people here to Brevard?
Well, I mean, I don't know the answers to that, but I mean, the hotel chains believe they do. At least their marketing studies are showing, hey, the area needs, there's a scarcity of rooms and a scarcity of modern rooms.
Yeah.
And a scarcity of higher income rooms. So that's what you're seeing now. I believe during the Satellite Beach meetings, the developer of the View at Satellite Beach was mentioning that Brevard does not have a 4-star hotel.
Oh,
I don't know how these things are rated or
Okay.
so forth, but he was pitching his plan saying this would be the first 4-star hotel in Brevard County.
yeah, absolutely. I was actually at Embraer. I got a tour of it, and it's really neat facility if you haven't been there. And people come here to buy private jets, and
Yeah.
they stay here a few days to choose their jets and design them. And these are not regular people like you and me, and they need really fancy hotels to stay in. So I think there is definitely
Yeah, they are
a
coming.
demand.
In respects to Embraer, I covered when Governor DeSantis came to the airport last week to announce a $3.9 million infrastructure grant to help develop one of the largest remaining parcels of really wooded property on the north side of the airport. It's just beyond Embraer. So they're hoping that the infrastructure improvements will help entice another major employer to move in there. But
Any idea who they're trying to bring?
they said they're in talks with they're competing with other states as well. So I said, we'll report it if it occurs.
Yeah.
But
Which is
one of those
usually-
deals.
But
One of those
the
deals.
state is putting up a lot of money and
Yeah.
resources behind it, and I mean,
And Greg Donovan, the
Interesting.
executive director, he had mentioned during that announcement that Embraer at this point is averaging about 15 planes per month. So they're building
Wow.
a plane every 2 days. So these are from around the world, extremely, millionaire
yeah,
sorts of people flying in and out to check on the aircraft, to, order aircraft, this sort of thing, because they can tailor it to their needs.
yeah. I mean, it's just a whole different world from the world we live in. But I was there, and it really, they design everything. Everything is custom made, from the cushions, from the color of the floor and the bathroom, and they choose every single
Right.
aspect, everything that goes on the plane, and it's and a lot of times they go and they design a plane for their wives and
Yeah.
give it as a gift, and I'm just thinking,
You're like, how do I get one of these?
yeah, I need one of those.
This is spurring kind of my memory. I believe it was last year, the Melbourne Airport Authority, they're still very interested in developing a fly-in hotel. This would be closer to the terminal side off of NASA, but it'd be one of the situations where people say it's a private plane, from a Embraer or whatever jet, they simply pull up on the apron right next to the hotel and walk in the lobby.
Wow.
So it'd be also accessible. It'd be like, from the other side of the gate where the public is, they can also enter that way too.
Wow.
So that's another possibility being floated around. I know there are developers interested in that, and one of the also key things with most of these hotels, including the Satellite Beach one, it would be additional conference center space, which also I remember when I came to the paper in 2004. the couple years prior to the Great Recession, the big rage was, hey, Brevard needs a big conference center of some
Yeah.
type.
Like the one in Orlando, for example, which is
Well, just
humongous.
yeah, nothing of that scale,
Nothing, yeah.
nothing like the Orange County one, but just like some sort of facility. Because I mean, one of the major conference center type facilities to this day here remains the Melbourne Auditorium, which is still. I mean, they were talking. This is 15 years ago, but they're saying this building needs knocked down. We need to put it in a new modern
Yeah.
place. So
Yeah, there are a few places that I always go, which is the Rialto next to the airport and the Crown Plaza on A1A, which I believe is it's not Satellite Beach, it's south from there, but
yes,
closer to Indian Atlantic. But you're right, I think we don't have a huge conference center, and I mean all of these things obviously bring dollars. But I want to go back to the hotel behind Meg O'Malley's because
all right.
that seems to be a very interesting project because it's going to be a boutique hotel, so it's not going to be like a Holiday Inn.
Right.
But describe the project. What is going to be the feel of it, and really, what is their business motto, and what kind of people they're trying to attract here?
I remember a couple of years ago when I met the developers that came to town, and we were for the story we were like shooting videos and photos right next to the site or the future site at the Florida Tech mural that Chris Maslow put on the side of the building there on Waverly Place, and they were saying that it's in many ways it's more of a millennial based type of motel. It's not a motel or hotel that's going to be like, the suburban ones off the side of the highway,
Yeah.
which people
The
go in,
cookie
they
cutter
sit in their
ones,
room
yeah.
all day long, and then they leave.
Okay.
This would be more of a thing people, more of an urban environment. It'll be, I believe, 123 feet high with a rooftop bar, and they'll have event space up there, like for weddings, reunions, this sort of thing. And some sort of like an indoor, outdoor, like a cafe kind of thing, but you'll be able to see wraparound views from up there.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure you are too.
That it certainly be interesting
Yeah.
to say the least. But from that vantage point, and these are, I guess it's more of a urban hotel kind of thing. And they specifically said they're not putting a restaurant in there. They want people, walk outside, go into Meg's,
Yeah.
go explore the downtown sort of thing.
I mean, I assume it's going to be great for Meg O'Malley's. I mean, not that it's not busy enough, but I'm sure that all the restaurants there are going to benefit from it. And another one just opened in downtown, which is where La Vela used to be. What is it called?
Ember and Oak.
Umber and Oak. And so it's interesting to me that these are not cheap restaurants. They are higher end. So it's interesting to see who they're trying to cater to.
On that note, I was speaking with the owners at Ember and Oak. This is back maybe spring or so when they were maybe February, March when they were first acquiring the property. And I said, "What brings you here?
Yeah.
Why are you opening?" And they were pointing at the Highline apartment building across
Wow.
the street. They said, "We're getting in now. This is a terrific opportunity. The hotel's coming in as well. So, and these are redevelopment sites.
Yeah.
From existing areas within the downtown, and they're like, we're excited about this, because they're like,
That's interesting.
there's like our customers are going to be within a block.
Yeah, and they're going to be those people who are working at Harris who definitely have that income, I assume, to go there. But I want to finish our conversation without talking about Virgin Trains, formerly known as Brightline Trains, formerly known as All Aboard Florida.
Right.
As you know, I lived in Stewart, which is on the Treasure Coast, and they have been trying to stop these trains since the beginning, and really they've lost the battle because one of the issues is, and people are not too familiar with this, is that as of right now, the only stops that are planned are Orlando, West Palm Beach, which is already built, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. The train is going to cut through the Treasure Coast and the Space Coast, but as of today, there's no certainty that we will get a station. However, we will get the trains cutting through our area. Tell us about the chances of us getting a station here in Brevard. And many years ago, the county sort of determined that the best location would be Cocoa. But what is Virgin Train saying about this?
They had the area in Cocoa in question. I believe Virgin Trains already owns acreage.
Okay.
It is right where 528, like the railroad it'll follow 528 eastward, then curve down and join the existing freight train tracks that follow US 1 all the way down into
The
Miami.
Florida East Coast.
Yeah,
train
yes,
tracks.
yes. They call that the Cocoa Curve because the trains from Orlando are going to have to slow down to negotiate the curve. But so it seems like a logical spot. It's near the Walmart right off of Clear Lake Road if you're looking at an aerial. So it'd be actually the woods right behind the Walmart. But I know that Virgin Trains, they're doing a media tour on Thursday, a media bus tour. They've invited me along. So that's going to start off at the Orlando Airport, the new train station, and they're going to go out along the Beachline Expressway to some of the land clearing areas. Because now, if you're driving on the Beachline, you can see, pretty much, I mean, the whole length. They're having, lane closures, occasional ramp closures, and so forth between, the airport and the Space Coast. So you see heavy equipment all over the place,
Yeah.
knocked down trees.
Have they
this sort of thing.
what have they said about a Space Coast station?
That would be, if I believe they, after the trains start running, which they hope occurs by the end of 2022, it would be within 5 years or so. They would look at, they would look at market demand,
Yeah.
and then make decisions.
So
on
we're
stations.
talking
So it's-
late 2020, so
get-
2027. So it's not, if it happens, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Just
Not anytime
we know.
soon. No, I think they, they. I mean, it's kind of difficult to imagine, for
Yeah.
non-passenger train.
Yeah.
People in
know.
this day and age, but up to 16 trains a day going back and forth.
yeah.
And
So
that-
fingers crossed that we will get a station here on the Space Coast. And we need to wrap up because we're about to end this show. But Rick, thank you so much, and keep up the great work that you're doing at Florida Today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
That's I Am Brevard for today. You can rewatch the show and read local news on floridatoday.com. See you next week.